Substance abuse, a relentless force consuming lives regardless of fame, fortune, or talent, spares no one. The illusion of safety in the limelight is false. Instead, the allure, immense pressure, and isolating nature of celebrity often propel individuals down a destructive road with no escape. Renowned figures we will highlight once basked in the spotlight, yet met tragic ends, oblivion, solitude, and self-destruction through uncontrollable addictions. They once reigned supreme in Hollywood. However, what led to their demise? Do you possess the courage to confront reality? If so, remain attentive to this video. 17. The tragic passing of Gangsta Boo. In her own residence on January 1st, Lola Chantrell Mitchell, better known as Gangsta Boo, entered the music world at a young age. At 15, she joined 3 6 Mafia, a pivotal moment for female rappers in the hardcore rap genre. Her distinctive voice and powerful style set her apart in a male-dominated industry. She achieved significant success, becoming a Southern rap icon. However, Gangsta Boo's life extended beyond music. Substance abuse became a significant factor. She engaged in all-night parties fueled by drugs, attempting to find creative inspiration. This ultimately led to her downfall. On January 1st, 2023, while the world celebrated the new year, Gangsta Boo passed away, a victim of the very substances that once inspired her. Her family discovered her deceased in her Memphis home. The events unfolded rapidly and unexpectedly. The autopsy determined the cause of death to be a lethal combination of fentanyl and cocaine. An overdose proved fatal. A new year had dawned, yet Gangsta Boo had already departed, leaving a legacy of sorrow among music fans. 16. Jimi Hendrix. The catastrophic downfall of a musical icon consumed by addiction. Jimi Hendrix, arguably history's most influential guitar virtuoso, revolutionized rock music with his innovative, explosive style and unparalleled artistry. He was the creative force behind iconic anthems such as Purple Haze and Voodoo Child, achieving global acclaim. However, beneath the celebrity was a defiant spirit shattered by the burdens of fame and a debilitating drug dependency. Hendrix was not just a star. He embodied an entire generation's rebellious spirit. Ironically, this rebellious lifestyle proved his undoing. In his final years, Hendrix was a shadow of his former self. He engaged in excessive drinking, consumed copious amounts of sleeping pills nightly, and succumbed to perpetual hallucinations. His bloodshot eyes, gaunt physique, and incoherent speech were unmistakable signs of his destructive spiral. Yet intervention proved futile. In 1969, following his epical rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock, his decline accelerated. Sleepless nights, erratic performances, and unpredictable fits of rage characterized his existence. He lost control. Friends retreated, producers grew hesitant, and his only companions were pills and alcohol. On the night of September 17, 1970, Hendrix returned to London after an exhausting tour. He drank incessantly and ingested sleeping pills, disregarding the dosage. A friend, a frequent participant in his drug-fueled escapades, found him unresponsive on the bed, eyes glazed over, muttering incoherently. The following morning, Jimi Hendrix was discovered lifeless in his hotel room, cold to the touch. He had vomited blood, asphyxiated on his vomit, and died alone. A barbiturate overdose compounded by alcohol claimed the life of a legend at the tender age of 27. Hendrix's final cry went unheard. No one could rescue him from that agonizing end. A brilliant talent, blazing brightly, then extinguished too soon. The world lost a legend that day. His demise serves as a stark warning. The insidious grip of drugs and addiction spares no one, not even a genius. 15. Rick James, a self-destructive icon, died tragically from addiction. The funk and R&B legend Rick James dominated the 70s and 80s with iconic hits like Super Freak and Give It To Me Baby. His music pulsated with energy, creativity, and unrestrained passion. However, James's personal life mirrored the intensity of his performances, only far exceeding it. Drugs, alcohol, and relentless partying weren't occasional indulgences. They defined his daily existence. His phenomenal success fueled immense self-destruction. From his musical debut, Rick James battled addiction. It began with marijuana, progressing to cocaine, heroin, and countless other substances. He confessed to spending millions solely on drugs. His electrifying stage presence wasn't solely about the music. It was fueled by his drug use. He performed in a drug-induced haze, singing amidst clouds of smoke, his eyes bloodshot from cocaine. But those exhilarating nights eventually became harrowing nightmares. His physical health deteriorated, and his career slowly declined. Even his legendary hits couldn't rescue a man spiraling into ruin. His addiction not only ravaged his health, but also embroiled him in numerous scandals. James faced arrests for assault, kidnapping women, and violent acts committed under the influence. The funk superstar became a Hollywood pariah. He cycled through jail, rehab, and back to his destructive habits. The vibrant Rick James of the past was unrecognizable. A weakened, aging figure desperately clinging to fame through minor performances. Ultimately, his self-destructive lifestyle tragically claimed his life. On the night of August 6, 2004, in his Los Angeles residence, Rick James was discovered lifeless at age 56. He succumbed to a heart attack. An autopsy revealed 9 different drugs in his system, from cocaine and methamphetamine to Valium. This wasn't a sudden death. It was the ultimate consequence of decades of self-destruction. In the end, Rick James was a tragically wasted soul buried beneath the remnants of a life lived too intensely, too carelessly. 14 Chad Lamont Butler, known as Pimp C, a Southern rap icon, tragically died after years of battling addiction. He co-founded the 90s rap group UGK with Bun B, showcasing immense talent in songs filled with street authenticity. Yet, his success was overshadowed by a life of drug abuse and self-destruction, leading to his untimely demise. Pimp C's musical career began brilliantly, but he was instantly caught in a cycle of addiction. His primary substance of abuse was codeine, found in cough syrup, coupled with alcohol and cocaine during countless sleepless nights. This addiction derailed his career, leading to imprisonment and multiple arrests that exacerbated his struggles. Despite attempts at recovery, the intense drug cravings proved insurmountable. He suffered immense physical and mental pain from his inability to overcome his addiction. On 12/4/2007, the music world was stunned by the news of Pimp C's death at 33 in a Los Angeles hotel room. His death resulted from a fatal combination of codeine and sleep apnea, the direct outcome of chronic drug use. The autopsy revealed other drugs in his system, demonstrating his constant struggle with addiction. His sudden death left many heartbroken, a celebrated artist taken too soon by self-destructive choices, leaving a void in Southern rap. A rising star extinguished, his legacy irrevocably marred. 13 Russell Tyrone Jones, famously known as Old Dirty Bastard or ODB, was a hip-hop legend celebrated for his unique style and defiant music. His contributions to the Wu-Tang Clan and his solo career resonated deeply with fans. Yet his success was overshadowed by a heartbreaking narrative of substance abuse, self-destruction, and an ultimately fatal downward spiral. ODB, a supremely talented artist, tragically exemplifies the destructive power of addiction. His life was marred by the consistent use of cocaine, heroin, and alcohol. This uncontrolled substance abuse led to a chaotic existence characterized by instability and risk-taking. Imprisonment and the persistent grip of addiction further hampered his career trajectory, making his demise seem almost certain. The inevitable occurred on November 13, 2004, when the 35-year-old ODB was discovered dead in his vehicle. He had been unconscious for hours en route to a recording session. As expected, his death resulted from a drug overdose, a lethal combination of cocaine and tramadol. His passing signified a devastating loss for hip-hop and the music community at large, a profound, unfulfilled potential. His career was ascending. He died unexpectedly, his life cut short by addiction. At only 35, a remarkable talent was lost. The price of a reckless life, a solitary, heartbreaking death that extinguished all his unrealized aspirations. 12 Billie Holiday, a voice silenced by the tragedy of addiction. The jazz legend, known for her haunting, raspy vocals, shaped an era with her poignant love ballads. Strange Fruit sent shockwaves globally. God Bless the Child became a timeless classic. Yet, offstage, she endured immense suffering. Fame offered no refuge from her past's torment, wounds that ensnared her in a vicious cycle of substance abuse and decline. From a young age, Billie faced poverty, violence, and isolation. Life's harsh realities pushed her toward alcohol and heroin as an escape. Initially, it was occasional indulgence, but she soon succumbed to addiction with ferocious intensity. By the 1940s, her physical state deteriorated drastically. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, her voice weakened, and her arms bore the scars of needle marks. Her performances lost their vibrancy, becoming drawn out, painful displays marred by addiction. Friends distanced themselves, finances dwindled, and Billie, once a luminary, became a mere ghost of her former self. In her final years, she endured a cycle of agony and degradation. She resided in dilapidated hotels utterly alone, with only alcohol and drugs for companionship. She attempted recovery, yet addiction relentlessly pulled her back, its grip ever tightening. Finally, Billie's body gave way. On May 31, 1959, she was apprehended for drug possession while hospitalized. Exhausted, weighing under 45 kilos and bedridden, she remained under police watch like a hardened criminal. On July 17, 1959, Billie Holiday passed away alone at age 44. Cirrhosis, heart failure, and substance abuse-related exhaustion claimed her life. A tragic end for a voice that once captivated the world. No one was present, no final words exchanged, only the cold room and her broken body, a testament to the destructive power of addiction on celebrated figures. Billie Holiday's death left behind a sorrowful narrative and an enduring sense of loss. 11. Ray Charles, a musical icon devastated by years of substance abuse. The unparalleled music legend Ray Charles crafted timeless melodies across jazz, blues, and soul genres. Born blind, he defied expectations, ascending to the height of his career with a phenomenal voice and extraordinary piano talent. Yet this brilliance masked profound suffering, a relentless struggle with drugs and alcohol. Ray's life story wasn't merely that of a gifted artist, but also a narrative of self-destruction, a continuous internal battle. From the 1940s onward, drugs and alcohol were his constant companions. Despite understanding their insidious nature, Ray remained trapped in addiction's grip. The public perceived him as a genius, but his personal life was shrouded in darkness. Numerous hospital stays, painful operations, and intense cravings left his body irreparably damaged. On June 10, 2004, Ray Charles, a monumental figure in music, passed away at age 73. His death wasn't a natural consequence of aging, but a direct result of prolonged substance abuse. Liver failure, stemming from countless nights of drinking and heroin use, ultimately claimed his life. In his final months, he battled excruciating pain. Confined to his bed, his body weakened and deteriorated. Fever, unrelenting exhaustion, and profound loneliness filled his days, only the echoes of his music offering solace. Ray Charles's death, while anticipated, still stunned the world. A legend, a brilliantly shining star, dimmed not from fading stage lights, but from a body ravaged by the destructive power of addiction. 10 Earl Simmons, the renowned street rapper, succumbed to a devastating drug addiction. More than just a rapper, DMX was a symbol of rage, suffering, and the unwavering spirit of hip-hop culture. His gravelly voice, forceful rapping style, and chart-topping hits such as Rough Riders Anthem and Party Up cemented his legacy. However, his life was marred by a tragic cycle of substance abuse, legal troubles, and personal hardship. DMX's early years were far from idyllic. Born in New York City in 1970, he endured a difficult upbringing marked by domestic violence and poverty. His mother subjected him to abuse, and at only 14, he unknowingly smoked a laced marijuana cigarette containing cocaine. This event proved pivotal, leading him down a path of addiction that would dominate the rest of his life. Even with his musical triumphs, DMX remained trapped by his substance abuse. He repeatedly entered rehabilitation programs only to relapse. Numerous arrests followed, stemming from drug possession, driving under the influence, and other offenses. His struggles transformed him from an invincible stage presence to a man broken by his dependence. On April 2, 2021, DMX was hospitalized after collapsing at his New York home. He experienced a heart attack triggered by a cocaine overdose, resulting in severe oxygen deprivation to his brain. His heart ceased functioning for 30 minutes before resuscitation. Despite intensive care, his brain activity remained critically low. A week later, on April 9, 2021, DMX's family made the agonizing choice to discontinue life support. He passed away at White Plains Hospital, leaving countless fans heartbroken. From a rap icon with enduring hits, DMX's final moments were spent immobile, in a hospital bed, a stark contrast to the powerful figure he once was. 9. Len Bias. A shattered dream, a life ended by addiction. A gifted basketball player, Len Bias possessed exceptional talent, poised to succeed icons like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. The Boston Celtics chose him in the NBA draft on June 17, 1986, a pinnacle moment. He was on the verge of basketball stardom. Yet a sudden tragedy struck. 2 days post-draft, Len Bias celebrated with friends, and in a moment of excitement, he experimented with cocaine for the first time. Unbeknownst to him, even a small amount proved fatal. The drug surged through his system, causing a rapid heart rate. He felt dizzy, his body shook violently, and then his heart failed. He collapsed at the party. Friends frantically called for emergency help, but it was too late. At 8:00 a.m. on June 19, 1986, doctors pronounced Len Bias deceased. The cause? A cocaine overdose. The news shocked America. The basketball world mourned the loss of a 22-year-old with boundless potential, whose promising career ended prematurely. The Boston Celtics lost a rising star. Fans lost a potential legend never given the chance to shine. One impulsive act, one life extinguished. Len Bias's demise was more than a personal tragedy. It impacted the NBA. Teams strengthened their rules and anti-drug programs expanded. But these measures couldn't bring back Len Bias, a man whose unrealized potential remains a constant reminder and whose absence continues to grieve his loyal fans. 8. The iconic musician Prince, a legend, passed away after a life ravaged by substance abuse. Prince, a musical innovator with a singular style, revolutionized music with enduring hits such as Purple Rain and Kiss. He epitomized artistic liberation, a radiant star in the creative firmament. Yet this brilliant exterior masked a harsh reality. Privately, his existence was a cycle of agony marked by physical suffering and reliance on pain medication. In his final years, Prince was far from the indomitable artist the public perceived. He suffered from persistent, debilitating pain on a daily basis. A serious hip injury hampered his ability to perform comfortably, leading him to depend heavily on potent painkillers. However, fentanyl, known as the silent killer, didn't merely alleviate his pain, it gradually consumed him. He was unaware he was using one of the world's most powerfully addictive substances, which ultimately claimed his life with brutal swiftness. Just days before his passing, Prince was admitted to a hospital following a drug overdose. His body was extremely weakened, yet he still fought to return home. Then, on the morning of April 21, 2016, he was discovered unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate. No one intervened in time. His death occurred within the cold confines of what had once been his creative haven. The autopsy determined the cause of death to be a fentanyl overdose. A tragic conclusion, though not entirely unforeseen. Prince had employed the drug to manage his pain and it repeatedly failed him, yet he couldn't escape its grasp. In the end, it proved fatal. 7. The famed gangster rap artist Coolio, found unresponsive in a bathroom, once embodied the voice of urban life. His iconic hit, Gangsta's Paradise, resonated globally, establishing him as a rap legend. However, like many rappers, his success masked a severe struggle with substance abuse. Born in 1963 in Pennsylvania, Coolio's youth was marked by poverty, violence, and pervasive drug use. He encountered numerous challenges, joining gangs, facing weapons charges, and succumbing to addiction early in life. Despite these hardships, Coolio found solace and expression through music. In 1995, the release of Gangsta's Paradise propelled him to international fame. The song became a cultural touchstone, achieving widespread popularity, earning a Grammy Award, and selling millions of units. The allure of fame, however, proved insufficient to overcome his internal demons. Coolio's battle with addiction persisted, leading to repeated relapses. On September 28, 2022, Coolio visited a friend's home in Los Angeles. Entering the bathroom and failing to reappear, his friend eventually forced entry, discovering Coolio unconscious on the floor, his heart having stopped. A subsequent autopsy revealed the presence of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid 50 times more potent than heroin, along with cocaine and heroin, a lethal combination. Coolio's life, marked by the extravagance of Gangsta's Paradise, concluded tragically amidst the devastating consequences of drug addiction. 6. A potent voice, a life cut short. Whitney Houston. The iconic singer, possessing a voice like an angel's, commanded the world stage. Her hit, I Will Always Love You, became a timeless classic, solidifying her status as a 20th century music giant. Yet, her dazzling career masked a tragic personal life riddled with addiction and devastating breakdowns. From the start of her meteoric rise, Whitney battled cocaine and alcohol abuse. Her marriage to Bobby Brown, also struggling with addiction, only deepened her descent into despair. A once thriving career transformed into a symbol of decline. Years of substance abuse diminished her extraordinary vocal abilities, and physical and emotional pain ensnared her. On 2/11/2012, Whitney Houston died tragically. Found unresponsive in a Beverly Hilton hotel bathtub, she could not be saved. Drowning was the official cause of death. However, a grimmer reality lurked beneath the surface. Cocaine, which had steadily weakened her heart, proved her silent killer. A fatal combination of overdose and heart disease caused her to lose consciousness and drown. Her death in a stark, lonely bathroom was a devastating end. Addiction had ravaged everything: career, fame, and health. 5. The profoundly sad story of Phyllis Hyman, a gifted vocalist, ends with a tragic demise due to addiction and depression. Phyllis Hyman, a brilliant star in soul and R&B music, possessed a potent, soulful voice that charmed countless fans with chart-topping hits such as You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone. Her stage presence was regal, captivating, and powerful. However, this radiant exterior masked a deep inner struggle with instability, battling depression, loneliness, and substance abuse. Her life was a continuous, hidden struggle, only surfacing when it was too late to help. Phyllis's final years were a devastating spiral of grief and self-destruction. She contended with failed relationships, the unfairness within the music industry, and the agonizing feeling of being forgotten. Witnesses recall seeing her enter recording studios with tear-swollen eyes, a trembling cigarette in hand, and a bottle of alcohol nearby. She drank to escape the pain of dishonest relationships, men who pursued her fame only to abandon her once it faded. Every heartbreak intensified her reliance on drugs and sedatives. Her performances became agonizing ordeals. She often took the stage physically drained from alcohol, her voice impaired by sleeping pills. Some evenings, she'd collapse backstage, needing assistance to even reach the stage. Major contracts vanished, and her fan base dwindled. Phyllis was no longer the celebrated queen of the 70s, reduced to a struggling artist, forsaken by an industry to which she had dedicated her life. On the night of June 30th, 1995, Phyllis retreated to her apartment. She contacted several friends, but her calls went unanswered. Her thoughts remain unknown. But as darkness fell, she quietly penned a note, consumed a lethal dose of sleeping pills, took a final drink, and waited. Nobody came. No one rescued her from her despair. The following morning, she was found deceased in her bed. It was too late. Her body was cold and lifeless. At 45 years old, a phenomenal talent was extinguished by fame, depression, and an overdose of pills. Heartbreakingly, a once mighty voice was silenced forever. 4. David Ruffin, a lost genius, tragically died from drugs. David Ruffin, the powerful lead vocalist of The Temptations, was once a shining star of soul music, famous for the 1964 hit My Girl. He possessed not only a strong, emotionally resonant voice, but also a captivating stage presence that enthralled audiences. At his career's peak, Ruffin embodied music, fame, and extravagant parties. Yet, when the spotlight dimmed, only emptiness, instability, and a haunting obsession remained. He felt unappreciated. His enormous ego, the pressures of fame and loneliness, fueled a destructive addiction he couldn't escape. His downfall began in 1968 when he was dismissed from The Temptations. Unable to accept a secondary role, he craved top billing. His refusal to cooperate, including skipping shows and arriving late, ultimately led to his expulsion. This setback plunged him into a spiral of alcohol, cocaine, and heroin abuse, a desperate attempt to forget his humiliation. Throughout the 1970s, Ruffin's addiction worsened. His earnings from his iconic hits were squandered on drugs. Multiple arrests for cocaine possession, disruptive behavior, and fights, punctuated by unsuccessful rehab attempts, marked this period. The soul music icon became a broken, wandering soul, his eyes hollow and wild. He struggled to find work, and his family was powerless to rescue him from his self-destructive path. In his final years, Ruffin took meager gigs, barely enough to support his habit. On the night of May 31st, 1991 in Philadelphia, at a drug-fueled party in a smoke-filled apartment, Ruffin consumed a lethal dose of cocaine, his body already ravaged by years of abuse. Around 2 a.m. on June the 1st, he collapsed in a chair, his skin pale, his breathing shallow. Fearing involvement, no one summoned an ambulance, instead abandoning him on a hospital sidewalk. Unidentified, alone, he was found. At 6 a.m., doctors pronounced David Ruffin dead at 50 from a cocaine overdose. Penniless and alone, the voice that once captivated the world became an anonymous corpse discarded on the street. His funeral lacked the grandeur expected of a music legend. A simple coffin, no grand tributes, no throngs of mourners. just a man whose ascent to the pinnacle of success was ultimately overshadowed by fame and drugs. 3. The iconic musician, Ike Turner, experienced a life marked by both extraordinary success and devastating tragedy, culminating in a painful demise. Ike Turner, a pivotal figure in rock and roll, profoundly impacted the genre. Collaborating with Tina Turner, he forged enduring musical legacies and secured a prominent place in music history. However, this achievement masked a deeply troubled existence characterized by hardship, errors, and substance abuse. For years, cocaine, alcohol, and tobacco dominated his life. Repeated health crises only fueled his dependence, trapping him in a vicious cycle. Even at the height of his career, self-destructive behaviors steadily eroded his well-being. Ike Turner was not merely a participant in a tumultuous marriage with Tina Turner, he also struggled with an overwhelming addiction. Imprisonment coupled with physical and emotional suffering progressively led to a pattern of repeated setbacks. On 12/12/2007, at age 76, Ike Turner passed away. His death was not accidental or violent. It resulted from prolonged substance misuse and stimulant use. A fatal combination of cocaine overdose, heart disease, and lung disease contributed to his death. In his final days, Ike was severely debilitated by declining health. His musical contributions endure, but his story serves as a poignant reminder. Ike Turner's passing signified more than the end of a musical icon's career. It starkly illustrates the destructive power of addiction, even among the most gifted individuals. He died alone and without loved ones, a life irrevocably altered by circumstances beyond his capacity to change. 2. Dexter King. A son's tragic downfall. Dexter King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s son, was destined to inherit his father's monumental legacy. However, destiny had other plans. From infancy, Dexter lived under his father's immense shadow, constantly observed. The son tasked with following in the footsteps of a giant, the crushing weight of expectations proved too much. He battled to find his purpose within his family, community, and personal life. Unable to alleviate the pressure, he sought solace in the familiar refuge of substance abuse, alcohol, and drugs. Initially, it served as an escape from reality, but it swiftly consumed his existence. Years of addiction ravaged Dexter King's well-being. He aged prematurely. His physique deteriorated. Still, he remained trapped in his addiction. By 2024, his body could endure no more. Organ failure, a slow, agonizing demise. The conclusion was unavoidable. On January 22, 2024, Dexter King passed away, leaving a legacy of sorrow for an heir who couldn't overcome his tragic destiny. 1. Donny Hathaway. A profoundly gifted vocalist, tragically ravaged by addiction and depression. This soul and R&B icon possessed a voice that deeply moved countless listeners, achieving immense fame with iconic songs such as A Song for You and The Ghetto. Yet this celebrated artist concealed profound suffering. Unbearable pain manifested as depression, hallucinations, and substance abuse gradually consumed Hathaway, culminating in an unforeseen and devastating demise. Hathaway's existence lacked tranquility. He battled paranoid schizophrenia, perpetually feeling observed, even believing in external mind control. These delusions intensified, plunging him into despair. Seeking refuge from his torment, Hathaway resorted to alcohol and drugs, finding not solace, but a descent into deeper darkness. His addiction derailed his career, causing erratic behavior, loss of control, and alienation from loved ones. He became an isolated figure, enduring sleepless nights, consumed by alcohol, drugs, and auditory hallucinations. On the night of January 12, 1979, Hathaway drank alone in his New York apartment, pacing restlessly, muttering incoherently, his gaze vacant. The events of that night remain unknown, but his lifeless body was discovered the following morning on the sidewalk below his 15th floor apartment. The fall proved unsurvivable. Authorities ruled the death a suicide, attributing it to a drug-induced delusion. At 33, a remarkable talent was extinguished by inner demons. His death was a solitary, desolate end, affording no opportunity for farewell. Donny Hathaway's passing represents not only a loss to the music world, but a poignant illustration of a tragedy beyond the reach of assistance, a darkness that even fame could not mask. These celebrities' deaths serve as stark reminders of the destructive force of substance abuse. They possessed immense wealth and success, yet ultimately succumbed to addiction in heartbreaking ways. The brighter their stars shone, the more profound their fall. What are your thoughts on these narratives? Which loss affects you the most deeply? Share your opinions in the comments and remember to like, subscribe, and enable notifications to stay updated on other unsettling tales concealed within Hollywood's glamorous facade.